Celebrities often augment their investment portfolios with franchise ownership as it can provide very solid returns. Owning a franchise is also a great diversification strategy for anyone's portfolio, but not all franchises allow for passive ownership. Chick-fil-A and McDonald's, for example, they both require active participation from owners, so are not a good option for passive ownership, and of course not for celebrities or investors. But who are some of the top celebrities who own franchises, and what franchises allow for this type of ownership? Well, we're going to start off with famous rapper and record exec Rick Ross, who's very well known for owning Wingstop franchises. And there's very few celebrities out there quite as vocal as Rick Ross about their franchise investments. Now, as I was researching this piece, nobody seemed to know exactly how many Wingstops Rick Ross actually owns. In fact, some organizations suggested he owns the entire franchise of over 1,000 stores. And here we have GRM Daily stating Rick Ross's Wingstop chain is coming to London. And Hip Hop News Uncensored with Rick Ross opens 1,000th Wingstop location. So I had to clear this up and literally spent Sunday night counting every single store owned by Ross's company in the disclosure documentation among the thousands of total stores. And the answer to how many Wingstop locations Rick Ross owns is 6 locations in Tennessee, 2 in South Carolina, 1 in Louisiana, 5 in Mississippi, 7 in Florida, and ironically in Florida he actually owns store number 420, true story, 6 in Georgia, 3 in Alabama, making a total of 30 locations Rick Ross owns, at least of the writing of these franchise disclosure documents. Of course, since then he could have purchased more stores. We really don't know. But 30 right now is the official answer. Now, speaking of Wingstop, former New England Patriots linebacker Willie McGinnis owns a couple of Wingstops and also a Swirls yogurt franchise. Shaquille ONeal owns a lot of franchises. By the time I got here, I was too tired to count them all. But at one time, he owned 10% of all the Five Guys Burgers franchises, over 150 locations, which he has since apparently sold. Also, 17 Auntie Annie's Pretzel franchise, a Krispy Kreme franchise, 40 24-hour fitness gyms, and recently joined the board of directors with Papa John's, where he's going to be opening up 9 stores in Georgia. Now, it's interesting to note that Shaq makes more money now than he ever did when he was playing, and that's a lot of money. Shaq has even created a company that focuses on investing and developing his food empire. The name of his company is Shaquille ONeal's. True story. More sports stars should follow Shaquille's lead and invest in franchises, as many of them, up to 60% of NBA players, are broke within 5 years of leaving the game. So you hear that, sports celebrities? Call franchise. Mark Brunell, NFL star, owns double digits of Whataburger franchise. And Brunell at one time had a $52 million fortune that was lost on 9 not-so-stellar business investments, most notably in luxury real estate. Apparently, the Whataburgers were not affected by the bankruptcy proceeding. Magic Johnson apparently owns 30 Burger King restaurants and double digits of 24-hour fitness. Magic also at one time owned 105 Starbucks stores, which he has since sold. Starbucks, of course, it's not actually a franchise that's available to the public, but Johnson negotiated a deal directly with then CEO Howard Schultz of Starbucks to open up these locations. And Johnson focuses mostly on urban developments with his company. Now, speaking of Burger King, recording star and Rihanna's ex-boyfriend Chris Brown is also a fan of the King. He owns 14 Burger King locations. Some of you might be wondering how much it costs to open a Burger King. Well, on average, you're looking at about $1.5 million to open up a single location. That's without the real estate. Super Bowl champ Keyshawn Johnson is the CEO of First Picks Bread Company. It's a business development firm that's focused on franchising. First Picks invested in the Panera Bread franchise throughout California. Several other NFL stars are invested in the firm, including Terrence Newman, Warwick Dunn, Reggie Bush, and Dennis Northcutt. Back in 2018, the company was actually sued for $2.7 million for allegedly not paying the rent, and the location in question commanded about $22,000 a month in rent, and First Pick signed a 10-year lease. Now, I'm wondering, can you even ever sell enough bread to pay the rent when you're paying $22,000? Phil Mickelson, famous golfer, just like Shaq, he's also a Five Guys owner. Phil got into a bit of trouble a while back for publicly praising Five Guys without disclosing he was an owner. Back in 2010, he said, "I grew up on In-N-Out burgers. who admitted he had gone to Five Guys for 6 days in a row. I thought that was the best burger until I had Five Guys. That is hands down the best burger I ever had. But he was called out in a tweet right here. It says, keep in mind, Phil Mickelson owns Southern California rights for Five Guys. Biased argument, question mark. Peyton Manning from the NFL owned 31 Papa John's franchises for over 6 years. He's since sold those, but he's still going to remain on as a spokesperson and brand ambassador for the company. And there's been some friction, some of you might have heard about this, between the NFL and Papa John's, and their sponsorship deal actually ended last year. Papa John's former CEO is not happy at players who had staged protests during the national anthem and stated, "We are disappointed the NFL and its leadership did not resolve this." Papa John's stock dropped promptly 11-12%, which represented no less than $70 million to Matter's personal fortune, which resulted in an apology. Further controversy resulted in Schnatter resigning in mid-2018. Tennis player Venus Williams is a Jamba Juice franchise owner. Venus actually has an autoimmune disorder that led to her adopting a vegan diet and often juicing at home, and ultimately that led her to investing in the Jamba Juice franchise. And Hammerin' Hank Aaron, one of the greatest baseball players ever, started his Popeyes franchise empire over 20 years ago, and today he and his wife own 24 locations. Hank also owns a couple of Krispy Kreme franchises, and all of his locations are located in the Atlanta region. So there are just a few of the notable celebrity franchise owners. There's many more, but the question is, did these celebrities make good franchising decisions? Well, some of them, yes, very solid choices. Others might have been better. Oftentimes, investors see a huge brand name. They assume that brand recognition and brand maturity equals success, but that's not always the case. Every franchise has a life cycle, and at one point, we see the growth of a franchise start to turn into decline. Always happens. Many of the biggest names in franchising are now closing doors after opening stores for decades. There comes a point of market saturation and diminishing returns that is inevitable in franchising. One strategy is to instead catch the wave of an emerging brand, just like buyers did for the big names many, many years ago. And these early buyers are really the ones that make the big money. People who come late to the party, not so much. Also keep in mind, market trends show relatively lackluster sales for traditional burgers and fries, and enormous competition in that space from other franchises that are all competing for the lowest cost meals. And here's the burger industry revenue chart from 2015 to today. The healthy eating index could also create additional issues in the future. We see trending actually towards quality food at a premium price, and have seen franchises in this space offer the same returns for 1/3 of the investment, which means you could purchase 3 times as many stores and make almost 3 times as much in returns. But again, every situation is different. Your local market conditions, business goals, tax strategies, and all this other criteria will dictate which investment is best for you. Now, whether you're a celebrity or not, if you need help finding your ideal franchise, give the experts a call at Franchise City. You can click the link above to learn more. Please like and subscribe for franchise news, and thank you for watching.
You are listening to Franchise City, a better way to buy franchise.